I stared at the text message on my phone, my hands shaking. The words blurred as tears welled up in my eyes. This couldn't be happening. Not to me. Not after 10 years of marriage. "Sarah, honey, are you ready to go?" Jacob's voice called from downstairs. I quickly wiped my eyes and took a deep breath. "Just a minute." I called back, my voice surprisingly steady. As I descended the stairs, I saw Jacob standing by the door, keys in hand. He smiled at me, that same warm smile that had made me fall in love with him all those years ago. But now, it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. "There you are," he said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. I turned my head slightly, and his lips grazed my ear instead. If he noticed, he didn't show it. "We don't want to be late for the Johnsons' anniversary party." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As we drove to the party, Jacob chatted about his day at work, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. I half listened, my mind replaying the message I'd received from an unknown number. "Your husband is cheating on you with me. I'm sorry, but you deserve to know the truth." At the party, I plastered on a smile and made small talk with our friends and neighbors. Jacob's hand rested on the small of my back, a gesture that used to make me feel loved and protected. Now it felt like a brand of ownership. "Sarah, dear?" Mrs. A. Johnson approached us, beaming. "So good to see you both. 40 years of marriage, can you believe it?" I felt Jacob's chest rumble with laughter. "Maybe we'll make it there someday, right, sweetheart?" I looked up at him, searching his face for any sign of guilt or deception. But all I saw was the man I'd loved for a decade, smiling down at me with apparent affection. "Excuse me," I mumbled, suddenly needing air. I made my way to the back porch, gripping the railing as I tried to steady my breathing. "Are you okay?" A soft voice startled me. I turned to see Olivia, the Johnsons' daughter, looking at me with concern. She was in her mid-20s, with long blonde hair and bright blue eyes. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just needed some fresh air." Olivia nodded, joining me at the railing. "It can get a bit stuffy in there, can't it? All those happy couples." She trailed off, a wistful look in her eyes. "You're not seeing anyone?" I asked, grateful for the distraction. She hesitated, then shook her head. "It's complicated. There's someone, but he's not available." My heart skipped a beat. "Oh," I tried to keep my voice casual. "That must be difficult." Olivia sighed. "It is, but he says his marriage is loveless, that they're just going through the motions. He promises he'll leave her soon." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I gripped the railing tighter, my knuckles turning white. "Olivia," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "who is he?" She looked at me, confusion clouding her features. I can't say. It's not my place to." "Sarah?" Jacob's voice cut through the tension like a knife. We both turned to see him standing in the doorway, his eyes darting between us. "Everything okay out here?" I looked at Olivia, saw the guilt and realization dawning on her face. Then I turned to Jacob, the man I thought I knew better than anyone in the world. "No," I said, my voice growing stronger with each word. "No, Jacob. Everything is not okay." I stood in our kitchen, my hands gripping the edge of the counter so tightly my knuckles turned white. Jacob paced back and forth, his face a mask of guilt and defiance. "How could you?" I whispered, my voice trembling with anger and hurt. 10 years, Jacob. 10 years of marriage, and you throw it all away for what? A fling with a girl half your age?" Jacob stopped pacing and faced me, his eyes pleading. "Sarah, it's not what you think. Olivia and it just happened. I never meant to hurt you." I laughed bitterly. "Oh, you never meant to hurt me? Is that why you told her our marriage was loveless? That we were just going through the motions?" His face paled. "You talked to Olivia?" "I didn't have to," I spat. "She told me everything without realizing who I was. God, Jacob, how could you be so cruel?" He reached for me, but I recoiled. "Don't touch me," I hissed. "I want you out of this house, now." "Sarah, please," he begged. "We can work this out. I'll end things with Olivia, I promise. Just give me another chance." I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "There are no more chances, Jacob. You've broken something that can't be fixed." As Jacob packed a bag, I retreated to our bedroom, my bedroom now, and collapsed on the bed. My whole world had shattered in the span of a few hours. How was I supposed to move forward from this? With shaking hands, I reached for my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in years. "Hello?" A familiar voice answered. "Charlotte?" I choked out. "It's Sarah. I need you." An hour later, I was sitting on Charlotte's couch, a steaming mug of tea in my hands. My old college roommate and best friend listened intently as I poured out the whole sordid story. "Oh, honey," Charlotte sighed, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "I'm so sorry you're going through this. What a bastard." I leaned into her embrace, grateful for her unwavering support. "I just feel so stupid, Charlie. How did I not see it?" "Hey, none of that," she said firmly. "You are not stupid. Jacob is the one who made the choice to betray you. This is on him, not you." I nodded, wiping away fresh tears. "What do I do now? I can't imagine going back to that house, sleeping in that bed." Charlotte squeezed my hand. "You stay here with me for as long as you need. We'll figure this out together, okay?" As the days passed, Charlotte became my rock. She helped me navigate the murky waters of separation, accompanying me to meet with a divorce lawyer and standing by my side as I packed up my things from the house I'd shared with Jacob. One evening, as we sat on her balcony watching the sunset, Charlotte turned to me with a determined look in her eyes. "Sarah, I think it's time you started focusing on yourself. What do you want for your future?" I blinked, realizing I hadn't thought beyond my pain and anger. I don't know. My whole life was wrapped up in Jacob and our marriage. "Well, now's your chance to rediscover yourself," Charlotte said encouragingly. "What about your career? You've always loved teaching. Maybe it's time to pursue that advanced degree you've been talking about?" A small spark of excitement flickered in my chest. "You're right. I've always wanted to become a reading specialist. Maybe this is my opportunity to make that happen." Charlotte grinned. "That's my girl. You're going to come out of this stronger than ever, Sarah. I just know it." As we clinked our wine glasses together, I felt a glimmer of hope for the first time since my world had fallen apart. But just then, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Jacob. "Sarah, we need to talk. There's something you should know about Olivia." I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. What more could he possibly have to say? And why did I have a sinking feeling that my journey through this mess was far from over? I stared at the divorce papers on the kitchen table, my hand hovering over the signature line. Charlotte sat beside me, her presence a comforting anchor in the storm of emotions swirling inside me. "You don't have to do this today if you're not ready, Sarah," she said gently. I took a deep breath. "No, I need to do this. It's time." With a trembling hand, I signed my name, officially ending my 10-year marriage to Jacob. As I set the pen down, a mix of relief and sadness washed over me. "I'm proud of you," Charlotte said, squeezing my shoulder. "This is the first step towards your new life." I nodded, wiping away a stray tear. "You're right. I can't keep living in the past. It's time to focus on my future." The next day, I walked into the elementary school where I taught, my head held high. As I passed the principal's office, a voice called out, "Sarah, do you have a moment?" I turned to see Principal Roberts beckoning me inside. Curious, I followed her into her office. "I heard about your situation," she said, her eyes filled with sympathy. "I'm so sorry you're going through this, but I have a proposition that might help take your mind off things." My interest piqued. "What kind of proposition?" "We're starting a new reading intervention program next semester," she explained. "I know you've been interested in becoming a reading specialist. Would you like to lead the program?" My heart raced with excitement. "Are you serious?" "I'd love to." Principal Roberts smiled. "Excellent. It will require some additional training and certification, but I think you're perfect for the role." As I left her office, my mind was buzzing with possibilities. This was exactly the kind of challenge I needed to help me move forward. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into preparing for my new role. The extra work was exhausting but exhilarating. For the first time in months, I felt like I was truly living for myself, not just going through the motions. One evening, as I was leaving the school after a late planning session, I quite literally ran into someone in the hallway. "Oh, I'm so sorry," I exclaimed, bending down to help gather the scattered papers. "No worries," a deep voice chuckled. I wasn't watching where I was going either. I looked up to find myself face to face with Michael, the new 5th grade teacher. His kind brown eyes crinkled at the corners as he smiled at me. "Sarah, right?" he asked. "I've seen you around, but we haven't officially met. I'm Michael." We shook hands, and I felt an unexpected spark at his touch. Flustered, I quickly changed the subject. "What are you doing here so late?" I asked. He held up a stack of papers. "Grading never ends, does it?" But I could ask you the same question. I explained about the new reading program, and Michael's eyes lit up with interest. "That sounds amazing," he said enthusiastically. "I have a few students who could really benefit from something like that. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime and you could tell me more about it?" I hesitated for a moment, my recent heartbreak making me wary. But something about Michael's warm smile and genuine interest made me nod. "I'd like that," I said softly. As I drove home that night, my mind was a whirlwind of emotions. The excitement of my new career opportunity, the unexpected connection with Michael, and the lingering pain of my failed marriage all competed for attention. Just as I pulled into my driveway, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Jacob. "Sarah, I know you're moving on, but there's something you need to know. It's about Olivia. Can we meet?" My stomach clenched. Just when I thought I was making progress, Jacob threatened to pull me back into the drama. Should I agree to meet him? Or was it time to truly cut all ties and focus on my new beginning? As I sat in my car staring at the text, I realized that the choice I made now would set the course for the rest of my life. And for the first time in a long time, I felt ready to take control of my own destiny. I never expected to fall in love again, especially not so soon after my divorce. But life has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it. Michael and I had been meeting for coffee regularly to discuss the reading program, but our conversations quickly expanded beyond work. His kindness, humor, and genuine interest in my thoughts and feelings were a balm to my wounded heart. One evening, as we walked through the park after dinner, Michael took my hand. The simple gesture sent a jolt of electricity through me. "Sarah," he said, his voice soft but serious, "I know you've been through a lot, and I don't want to rush you, but I need you to know how I feel. I'm falling in love with you." My heart raced, a mix of excitement and fear coursing through me. "Michael, I think I'm falling for you too, but I'm scared. What if I'm not ready?" He squeezed my hand gently. "We'll take it as slow as you need. I'm not going anywhere." Over the next few months, our relationship blossomed. Michael was everything Jacob wasn't: attentive, supportive, and honest. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen and appreciated. But just as I was starting to believe in happily ever after again, life threw me another curveball. It was a crisp autumn evening when Michael surprised me with a picnic in the park where we first confessed our feelings. As we sat on the blanket, surrounded by falling leaves, he took my hands in his. "Sarah," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "these past few months have been the happiest of my life. You've shown me what true love really means." My breath caught in my throat as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I know it might seem fast," he continued, "but when you know, you know. Sarah, will you marry me?" Time seemed to stand still as I stared at the beautiful ring nestled in the box. A whirlwind of emotions swept through me: joy, love, excitement, and fear. "Michael, I hesitated, tears welling up in my eyes. "I love you so much. But I'm scared. My last marriage, it ended so badly. What if I'm not ready for this?" Michael's face softened with understanding. "I know you're scared, Sarah, and I understand why. But I'm not Jacob. I will never betray you or take you for granted. I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to you." As I looked into his earnest eyes, I felt my fears begin to melt away. This was Michael, kind, loving, trustworthy Michael. He wasn't Jacob, and it wasn't fair to let my past dictate my future. "Yes," I whispered, a smile breaking through my tears. "Yes, I'll marry you." Michael's face lit up with joy as he slipped the ring onto my finger. As we embraced, I felt a sense of peace and rightness that I hadn't experienced in years. But our moment of bliss was interrupted by the harsh buzz of my phone. I reluctantly pulled away from Michael to check it, thinking it might be Charlotte wanting to know how the evening went. Instead, I saw Jacob's name on the screen. My stomach clenched as I read his message. "Sarah, I know you're moving on, but there's something you need to know. Olivia is pregnant, and she says it's mine. I don't know what to do. Please, can we talk?" The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I looked from the message to the sparkling ring on my finger, then back to Michael's concerned face. "Sarah, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. I took a deep breath, knowing that my response to this message could change everything. Do I ignore Jacob and focus on my new life with Michael? Or do I get involved in this new drama, potentially jeopardizing my fresh start? As the weight of the decision pressed down on me, I realized that the choice I made now would not only affect my future but the lives of everyone involved. With trembling fingers, I began to type my response, hoping against hope that I was making the right choice. I sat on the edge of the bathtub, staring at the little plastic stick in my trembling hands. 2 pink lines, clear as day, pregnant. My mind raced, a whirlwind of emotions threatening to overwhelm me. Joy, fear, excitement, panic. They all battled for dominance as I tried to process this life-changing news. "Sarah?" Charlotte's voice called from the other side of the bathroom door. "Are you okay in there?" I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Yeah, I'm coming out." I opened the door to find Charlotte waiting anxiously. One look at my face told her everything. "Oh my God," she whispered, pulling me into a tight hug. "You're pregnant?" I nodded against her shoulder, tears spilling down my cheeks. "I don't know what to do, Charlie. I'm scared." Charlotte led me to the couch, keeping an arm around my shoulders. "Okay, let's think this through. How do you feel about it?" I'm happy," I admitted, surprising myself. "I've always wanted to be a mother, but the timing, God, Charlie, I just got engaged to Michael. We haven't even set a wedding date yet. And Jacob." The mention of my ex-husband's name hung heavy in the air. I hadn't responded to his message about Olivia's pregnancy, choosing instead to focus on my relationship with Michael. But now, everything was infinitely more complicated. "Have you told Michael yet?" Charlotte asked gently. I shook my head. I wanted to be sure first, and I needed time to process it myself. "He'll be thrilled, Sarah," Charlotte reassured me. "Michael loves you. He'll support you no matter what." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I love you." Fresh tears welled up in my eyes. What if he thinks it's too soon? What if he doesn't want this? Charlotte squeezed my hand. "Sarah, look at me. Michael is not Jacob. He's proven time and time again that he's in this for the long haul. Trust in that." I nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right. I need to tell him tonight." That evening, I paced nervously in my living room, waiting for Michael to arrive. When the doorbell rang, I nearly jumped out of my skin. "Hey, beautiful." Michael greeted me with a kiss. His smile faded as he noticed my tense expression. "Sarah, what's wrong?" I led him to the couch, my heart pounding. "Michael, I have something to tell you." His brow furrowed with concern. "You're scaring me, Sarah. What is it?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "I'm pregnant." For a moment, Michael sat in stunned silence. Then, to my utter amazement, a broad smile spread across his face. "We're having a baby?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. I nodded, tears of relief spilling down my cheeks. You're happy about this?" Michael pulled me into his arms, laughing joyfully. "Happy? Sarah? I'm ecstatic. This is incredible news." As we embraced, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Michael's unconditional love and support washed over me, soothing my fears. But our moment of bliss was interrupted by a harsh knock at the door. Michael and I exchanged confused glances. "Are you expecting someone?" he asked. I shook my head, a sense of dread creeping over me. As I opened the door, my worst fears were confirmed. Jacob stood on my doorstep, his face a storm of emotions. "Sarah, we need to talk. Now." I felt Michael come up behind me, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "Jacob, this isn't a good time," I said firmly. "It's about Olivia," Jacob pressed. And the baby. I think there's something you should know." My hand instinctively went to my own stomach, where our little secret was growing. In that moment, I realized I had a crucial decision to make. Do I let Jacob back into my life, potentially disrupting the happiness I've found with Michael? Or do I close the door on my past once and for all, focusing solely on the future growing inside me? As I stood on the threshold between my past and my future, I knew that whatever choice I made would irrevocably change the course of not just my life, but the lives of everyone involved. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation ahead. Michael squeezed my hand reassuringly as we sat across from Jacob in a quiet corner of the local cafe. The tension was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. "So," Jacob began, his eyes darting between Michael and me. "You wanted to talk. What's this about?" I exchanged a glance with Michael, drawing strength from his steady presence. "Jacob, we have some news." I paused, my hand instinctively moving to my stomach. I'm pregnant. Jacob's face went through a kaleidoscope of emotions, shock, disbelief, and then, to my horror, anger. Pregnant? He spat. How convenient. Let me guess, it's his. He jerked his head towards Michael. Of course it's mine, Michael said firmly, his arm tightening around me protectively. Jacob's eyes narrowed. Is it? Or are you just covering for her? After all, Sarah, we were still married not that long ago. I felt as if I'd been slapped. How dare you, I hissed, tears stinging my eyes. You have no right to accuse me of anything, not after what you did. What I did? Jacob laughed bitterly. At least I was honest about Olivia's pregnancy. You're trying to pass this off as his when we both know the timing doesn't add up. My world tilted on its axis. Olivia's pregnancy? I whispered, looking at Michael in confusion. He looked just as shocked as I felt. Jacob's face paled as he realized his mistake. You didn't know? No, I said, my voice barely audible. You never told me. You just showed up at my door, demanding to talk. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too crowded. I stood up abruptly, needing air. Michael rose with me, concern etched on his face. Sarah, wait, Jacob called as I rushed towards the exit. But I couldn't bear to hear another word. Outside, I gulped in the cool air, trying to make sense of everything. Michael's hands on my shoulders anchored me to reality. Sarah, look at me, he said gently. None of what Jacob said changes anything between us. I love you, and I love our baby. That's all that matters. I nodded, grateful for his unwavering support. But Jacob's words had planted a seed of doubt that I couldn't shake. Michael, what if he's right about the timing? Michael's face softened. Sarah, even if that were true, which we don't know for sure, it wouldn't change how I feel. This is our child, no matter what. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Charlotte. Sarah, we need to talk. It's about Jacob and Olivia. Call me ASAP. My heart raced as I showed Michael the message. Just then, Jacob burst out of the cafe. Sarah, please, he pleaded. Let me explain. About Olivia, about everything. I felt torn between my past and my future, between the man who had betrayed me and the man who stood by me through everything. The weight of my unborn child seemed to press down on me, demanding a decision. Enough, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. I'm done with your lies and manipulations, Jacob. Whatever is going on with you and Olivia, it's not my problem anymore. Jacob's face crumpled. But Sarah, there's more you need to know. About Olivia, about the baby. It's not what you think. As Jacob's words hung in the air, I felt the world closing in around me. My phone buzzed again, Charlotte's name flashing on the screen. Michael stood beside me, a pillar of strength. And Jacob, the man I once thought I'd spend my life with, looked more lost and desperate than I'd ever seen him. In that moment, I realized that the choice I made now would not only affect my life and the life of my unborn child, but would ripple out to touch everyone around me. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone, knowing that whatever Charlotte had to tell me could change everything once again. My hands shook as I dialed Charlotte's number, Michael's steady presence beside me, the only thing keeping me grounded. Jacob hovered nearby, his face a mask of anxiety. Sarah? Charlotte's voice crackled through the speaker. Thank God you called. You need to hear this. I put the phone on speaker, my heart racing. What's going on, Charlie? I just spoke with Olivia, Charlotte said, her voice tense. Sarah, she told me everything. Jacob's been lying to her too. Jacob's face paled. What? That's not. I held up a hand, silencing him. Go on, Charlotte. Olivia said Jacob told her he was separated from you, that your marriage was over in all but name. She had no idea you were still together when their affair started. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I stared at Jacob, seeing him clearly for the first time. Is this true? Jacob's shoulders slumped. Sarah, I can explain. Explain what? I snapped, fury rising in me. How you lied to both of us? How you manipulated everyone around you? Charlotte's voice cut through the tension. There's more, Sarah. Olivia, she's not sure the baby is Jacob's. A stunned silence fell over us. Jacob looked like he'd been punched in the gut. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She was seeing someone else around the same time, Charlotte explained. She thought Jacob was her only option, but now... I ended the call, my mind reeling. Everything I thought I knew was crumbling around me. Sarah, Jacob pleaded, reaching for me. I know I messed up, but I love you. I always have. Can't we... Stop, I said, my voice cold. Just stop, Jacob. I don't want to hear any more of your lies. Michael, who had been silent throughout this exchange, finally spoke up. I think you should leave, Jacob, now. Jacob's face hardened. This isn't over, Sarah. That baby could still be mine. You can't keep me away. As Jacob stormed off, I felt my knees give way. Michael caught me, holding me close as sobs racked my body. It's okay, he murmured. I'm here. We'll get through this together. But even as I clung to Michael, doubts crept in. What if Jacob was right? What if the baby was his? Could I trust anyone anymore? The next few days passed in a blur of doctor's appointments and sleepless nights. Michael was a constant source of support, but I could see the strain in his eyes. The uncertainty was taking its toll on both of us. Then one evening, as we sat in tense silence in my living room, a knock at the door shattered the quiet. I opened it to find Olivia standing there, her eyes red-rimmed and her hand resting protectively on her slightly swollen belly. Sarah, she said, her voice trembling, I'm so sorry. For everything. I need to talk to you. I hesitated, torn between slamming the door and hearing her out. Michael appeared behind me, his hand on my shoulder. It's your call, Sarah, he said softly. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Taking a deep breath, I stepped aside to let Olivia in. As she entered, her eyes darted nervously between Michael and me. I know you probably hate me, Olivia began, but there's something you need to know. About Jacob, about the baby, about everything. My heart pounded in my chest as I braced myself for whatever bombshell Olivia was about to drop. In that moment, I realized that the truth she was about to reveal could either shatter the fragile new life I was building or provide the closure I desperately needed to move forward. As Olivia took a shaky breath to begin her story, I felt the weight of my own unborn child, a silent reminder of everything at stake. Whatever came next, I knew my world would never be the same. The contractions hit me like a freight train, each one more intense than the last. I gripped Michael's hand tightly as we rushed to the hospital, my mind a whirlwind of fear and excitement. You're doing great, Sarah, Michael reassured me, his voice steady despite the panic in his eyes. We're almost there. As we burst through the hospital doors, I saw a familiar face, Charlotte, waiting anxiously in the lobby. She rushed to my side, her presence instantly calming. I'm here, sweetie, she said, squeezing my free hand. You've got this. The next few hours were a blur of pain, encouragement, and determination. Michael and Charlotte stood by me, unwavering in their support. As I pushed with all my might, I thought about the journey that had led me here, the betrayal, the heartbreak, and the unexpected joy that had followed. Finally, with one last monumental effort, I heard it, the piercing cry of new life entering the world, my baby girl. She's beautiful, Michael whispered, tears streaming down his face as the nurse placed her in my arms. I looked down at my daughter, overwhelmed by the love that flooded through me. In that moment, all the pain and uncertainty of the past melted away. This was what mattered. This was my future. As I cradled my newborn, a soft knock at the door caught our attention. To my surprise, Olivia stood in the doorway, her own belly now prominently showing. I hope I'm not intruding, she said hesitantly. I wanted to see if you were okay, and to apologize again for everything. I looked at Michael and Charlotte, who nodded encouragingly. Come in, Olivia, I said softly. As Olivia approached, I saw the regret and sincerity in her eyes. Sarah, I can't begin to express how sorry I am for the pain I caused you. I was so blinded by Jacob's lies, I didn't see the truth until it was too late. I took a deep breath, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. We were both victims of Jacob's deception, Olivia. It's time we both let go of that pain and focus on the future. Olivia's eyes filled with tears as she looked at my daughter. She's gorgeous, Sarah. You and Michael must be so happy. Michael wrapped his arm around me, beaming with pride. We are, and we're grateful for every step that led us here, even the painful ones. As we sat there, an unlikely group bonded by shared experiences and new beginnings, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. Jacob's betrayal had shattered my world, but from those broken pieces I had built something stronger, more beautiful than I could have imagined. Charlotte broke the comfortable silence. So what's this little angel's name? I smiled, looking down at my daughter's peaceful face. Hope, I said softly. Her name is Hope. The room filled with murmurs of approval and gentle laughter. As I gazed at the faces around me, Michael, my rock and partner, Charlotte, my unwavering friend, and even Olivia, an unexpected ally, I realized that hope wasn't just my daughter's name. It was what had carried me through the darkest times, what had led me to this moment of joy and new beginnings. "Welcome to the world, Hope," I whispered, kissing her forehead. "You are so loved." As the sun set outside the hospital window, casting a warm glow over the room, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. The road had been long and painful, but it had led me here, to a place of love, forgiveness, and endless possibilities. With Hope in my arms and my chosen family around me, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. The future was bright, full of promise, and I was ready to embrace it with open arms. As I drifted off to sleep, exhausted but content, I heard Michael's soft voice. "I love you both so much," he murmured, his hand gently stroking Hope's tiny fingers. In that moment, I knew that this love, this family, this new chapter, was everything I had ever wanted and more. The pain of the past had faded, replaced by a joy so profound it took my breath away. Hope stirred in my arms, her tiny yawn a reminder of the beautiful journey we were just beginning. And as I closed my eyes, I smiled, knowing that the best was yet to come.